My name is Lessie Brooker Price. Brooker is my maiden name. I was born in Blackville, South Carolina, delivered by a midwife. As a matter of fact, during that era, all of us, my siblings and myself, were delivered by midwives. And so you can imagine during that era, midwives were very, very busy. They served as physicians and really took pretty good care of the folks in that area during that time. During that era, we experienced a lot of teaching and education on the farm, but you had to have some structure to education. And the school that I attended, my family attended during that time, was Pilgrim Rest School. That school was adjacent to a church called Pilgrim Rest Church. And you would find a lot of the community folks living within the farm area attending the school. Later, there was a school called Macedonia School that was built closer into the township. But for many years, that school served as the educational funnel for education for the farm workers. When I reflect on the history of my family, and when you think about farm life during the time in the 40s, with me, those were tough times, 50s especially, uh, were tough times. And as you grow older, you tend to want to blot out the negative, the hardship of your life. And as I recall in reflecting on my education, when I entered school, I moved from the first grade to the third grade, and it's mostly adjusting in class. To the wall, if you walked in the building, was the first grade, to the right, and then the left side was the third grade. So you moved, I was moved from the first to the third. And the reason for that is farm life teaches you a lot of skills. It teaches you how to read, you know your colors, you know how to add and subtract and sometimes divide. And those traits were not what were taught to us, not consciously, but it was a requirement to survive in the farming community. We grew almost everything we had on the farm. Naturally, cotton was the big element in terms of what my father and his brothers did. But then we had our vegetable gardens. We had chickens, but getting back to the cotton, you would have to weigh your cotton at the end of the day. And weighing that cotton, you knew how to look at that scale and determine how much that cotton weighed. And I never will forget uh, an experience that I had with farming, because it was a competitive things with me and my siblings. And so somehow we thought that wetting your cotton would make it way more. And so not realizing that with cotton, if you pour water on it, it is only going to go straight through. So when you pull the bale up to weigh it, then you see the trickling of water dripping down. And so that was quite an experience to see what water does to cotton, especially with us trying to get more out of what we had than what we had actually picked. Quite an experience. But my father wanted a better way of life for his children. We realized that, again, I go back to the fact that farming is a tough life. And during that era, you pick cotton by hand, and it does a job on your cuticles and your hands. And so we wore double socks to try to avoid uh, the the bleeding, all those things that comes with putting your hand in that cotton and then picking that cotton out of I don't even remember what you call those little things it contained the cotton, but nevertheless, it was tough. And so my dad managed to connect with someone in Aiken, moved us to Aiken, but what did we do? We moved on a farm again. And you're talking about farming life from sunup to almost sundown. And one of the things that all of my brothers and sisters wanted was an education, a better education, because we thought that was the way out. Um, my parents valued work and strong work ethics. That they thought that if you worked hard, did a great job, then you could survive. And I still contend that is important, but you and I know how important education is to blend with that makes the whole person. And certainly we've had quite a learning experience from all the traits that farming has done and how it has impacted our lives and how those 10 children, I have 9 brothers and sisters, how it has impacted the positive traits in their life and their work ethics and their work culture. We had interesting experiences. Naturally, there were no recreational activities, so we abused ourselves. I just remember very, very well, we relished the weekends and being able to walk more than a mile from our house to my grandmother's house. And she would have those potato pies sitting on a little banister outside of her home on Saturdays, getting ready for Sunday dinner on the grounds at church, and how the aroma of those pies smelled. And I think that my brothers and sisters may have taken one, and she never knew where her pie disappeared. But we had the best time eating that pie on the way back home. And school was frankly pretty easy for us early on. But I never will forget when I was in the 5th grade and we moved, 5th or 6th grade, I can't remember, we moved to Aiken. And the hardship that I had though, when you start thinking about math and exposure to algebra, how those things become more difficult because you don't have that kind of exposure on the farm. So I needed some help there and had a wonderful teacher by the name of Mrs. Gertrude Eubanks, who helped me through those hard times when I was experiencing some difficulty in math. Well, I'm one of the proudest is I married a good man. I must say, William is my husband, and we've been married for 50 years. And very, very proud that and blessed that God managed to give me a good man to have 5 sons with. But in terms of personal achievements and goals, I am happy that based on what I hear, I've made a difference, and that is through service. I've spent many, many years giving a lot of hours to public service and have had exposure to a wide variety of boards and committees that have helped me to pass that information on to somebody else to benefit other people. I've managed to serve in local government for 29 years as an elected member of the Aiken City Council. Very happy to have served there. And that running in the 70s was an experience because you didn't have many women running for public office during that time. And running at large was a huge challenge, and I lost that election in the 70s. And after seeing how things were done, I was up to my neck with politics and said, I don't want to experience that again, given what I saw that politics bring. And when I ran in 1980, but after assessing that over time, I was popular in the African American community and not at large. And if you're running an at-large election, You have to make sure that people know who you are and what your goals are and what you stand for. And certainly over time, I became more known based on my civic work, and decided to run in 1987 again, and became the first female to become an elected member of the Aiken City Council, at-large member. And that was an honor. And certainly when I reflect back on that, there were a lot of changes in the 70s versus when you go to 1987. And running at large meant that I had to have diversity with the voter turnout. And certainly it showed me and many others that Aiken is a town where people will look at the candidate and decide whether they want to support it or not, support that candidate or not. And certainly that was evident during that era. I ran for mayor in the 90s. My good friend Fred Kavanaugh and I opposed each other. It was one of the best campaigns that I've had with opposition. And the mayor was elected, and recently ran again for mayor and was defeated in that election. And Rick Osmond was the successor there, and Rick is doing a very fine job in this city. One of the things that I am not happy with, especially in this area, is that we do not have enough females in Aiken County or South Carolina running for public office. And females do not realize, I think, the talent that they bring. They bring a different level of thought process around the table when issues are discussed. And if I had to do anything, I think about Yulee Sally a great deal. And I think about Irene Rudnick a great deal. Those women during their era, their contributions, inspired me, and seeing them in their roles. And my idol was Barbara Jordan. I've always wanted to be a Barbara Jordan, and her courage. If I had just a little bit of her traits, I would be sensational, if I could label it as that. But I am right now promoting as many women as I can to run for public office, and more African Americans as well, because diversity is important. I've seen what it looks like to have diversity at the table, and how everybody wins when you have representation. And if we can learn that, when you have a mixed group, a diverse group sitting around having discussion, you really have a strong community, and you have a strong base overall. One of the things, and I'll leave with one of the things that I was thinking of before you asked me the question. I'm spiritual, and I have always prayed to God that He would use me as a vessel or an instrument to benefit other people. And there are things, as a matter of fact, last night I got in at about 9:30, and I had this phone call from this individual, and what he was asking for my support about puzzled me as to why he was calling me, but he wanted to start a program. But God places us in positions to help others. And the more we understand that, the more we understand that it's not about us, that we are that vessel to benefit others, especially if He places you in a leadership role. We are to serve people and not ourselves. And that's what I've learned over the years, and I work hard to do that. I don't talk about it. A lot of people say that I'm at fault, that I don't boast about these things, but that's not what it's about. It's about just getting it done and moving on. You don't find me on Facebook and YouTube and all those kinds of things, because I just don't have time for it. There's too much to do. And while I can, I want to serve and serve Him.